There's a reason why you're seeing an uptick of movie people at SIGGRAPH. They're asking the same questions you and I are asking. It's like, where is this going? What is the thing that's going to solve this? And I think 2-3 years from now, that will be solved. There will be a pipeline people can more or less say, yeah, that's how you do it.
Welcome back to Denoised. Addy, busy
Joey.
week. How's it going?
Busy week.
I know we got a lot of SIGGRAPH stuff to catch up on, but possibly the highlight of my week has been the arrival of this bad boy.
That's the plastic one?
This is the IMAX Odyssey popcorn bucket. They sold out right away, and then I had to wait for a second batch to go on sale, and it finally arrived.
Dude, congrats, man. That's something I would put on the back shelf here. Yeah.
This is going to go on display in the back here. I saw the shipment notification in SIGGRAPH, and I was like, yes.
That's never going to see popcorn, I'm pretty sure.
That is never going to touch food. All right. SIGGRAPH.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was my first time. Awesome event. Cool talks, but also like literally probably ran into like everyone in the space and everyone that I like didn't even expect to see there in one spot. Like definitely the most, like more people than NAB.
Yeah.
For me, like just kind of running into so many cool people and I'm meeting a lot of cool people.
Yeah, if AI on the lot is like a cup of coffee, then SIGGRAPH is an espresso shot. It's like a concentration of exactly the right people.
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, SIGGRAPH does go way longer than AI on the lot, so maybe SIGGRAPH is like a cafe au lait.
Okay.
It's bigger. It's a lot more. It takes longer to finish.
No, it is so focused on being for the researcher and for the sort of practical company talent that is building the actual solution versus like, product driven per se, where NAB and some of the other shows are like, we just made this thing, take a look. This is more like, no, this is what we're thinking. This is what we're researching. Take a look.
Yeah, a combo of both. Like, this up cutting edge research, and then you have case studies or demos or talks of like, here's the thing we did and workflow and how you could maybe take pieces and pick and choose how to apply it to your own work. Because this is my first SIGGRAPH. I had a few people who were like, oh, it's cool to see more like production focused people here at the conference. And I feel like that's only going to keep overlapping more and more, like the more that production people or more traditional filmmakers figure out the AI pipelines and then go down the rabbit hole of working in 3D space and image science, like the more these fields overlap. And it was like at a level for me too, where like a lot of this stuff, even some of the kind of papers or just what they're talking about, I'm like, oh, like I kind of see the pieces of where this is going and like how it could apply to stuff we talked about here and just other workflows that I've been experimenting with. So, I think it's the more you deep dive into this, the more relevant it becomes.
The AI movie pipeline, quote unquote, right? Like, think of it what you will. It doesn't exist as a thing that everybody agrees on. The VFX movie pipeline has been maturing for like 30 years. I mean, if you look at like Terminator 2, that was basically when it all started, right? Like back in the day, and maybe even before that, like if you count some of the earlier movies. But from the 90s to all throughout the 2000s and up until now, it has evolved into basically like you need this tool for this step, you need this person for this talent, and you seat this many people, you give this many people licenses. Like it's pretty well drawn out. The next 2 or 3 years, I think we're going to see the same thing with AI pipeline. Like, sure, like a lot of people have already figured it out. Like we're going to talk about later on the show. And they are able to produce decent results, but it's still voodoo science for the rest of us. And it is also very unique to the thing that you're making. As you know, you're making something with AI production right now. Just goes to show that there's a reason why you're seeing an uptick of movie people at SIGGRAPH is because they're asking the same questions you and I are asking. It's like, where is this going? What is the thing that's going to solve this? And I think 2-3 years from now, that will be solved. There will be a pipeline people can more or less say, yeah, that's how you do it. And then you're going to kind of see a decline of the movie people and an uptick of sort of the scientists and the researchers that SIGGRAPH's usually known for.
Yeah. So cool stuff that we saw. NVIDIA had a good like kind of AI track all day, AI and film production track all day on Thursday. That was so popular that when I left and then tried to come back to another talk, there was like a waiting line to get in. And they were like, yeah, basically if someone leaves the talk, we'll let more people in. But like it was packed and they had to shut the doors out. So very popular series. But the first one was the launch of EVRN, which is by Pinar from Kubrick, that if you've been tracking the AI and VFX virtual production space, Kubrick was one of the first kind of AI tools that was targeting virtual production. That went for a few years, and then she's just transitioned and launched EVRN. It's image to 3D. So you give it an image, and it segments that image of this is the person, this is an object, and turns it into a 3D space. So then you can move inside your world in 3D, reposition the camera, create camera moves, and have the control over AI filmmaking that we
if I can sort of
know is an issue.
Describe it in my own words. It's a AI-based tool that gets you quickly to a 3D orchestration space, not too dissimilar from stuff that you use to Unreal Engine with, putting the camera in the right place, putting the character here, animating the character, and so on. Once you're done with the decision-making there, then you use generative AI back out to go to video. So it's almost like AI input, 3D orchestration, AI output. And if you combine all those three things together on a workflow, which seems like what EVRN's done, I think it makes for a pretty compelling use case for our world, where we need a high level of control, high visual fidelity as you come out of this entire thing.
Yeah, this is a tool to make a really good reference image or video that you then feed into another video generator. But as we talked about many times, like the better inputs you can give the video models, the better outputs you get. So this is like the next level up from building out a basic gray box space. But also I know one of their key design points is a 3D tool that is easy enough for like a non-3D person to work with. So we kind of see the interface here, and it's like a very simple timeline and easy to navigate, very condensed version of Unreal and like a scene recorder,
for sure,
but in a way that is very easy for just a traditional filmmaker to come in, navigate with their camera, create their shots, and then export that.
And I just want to say, like, I've seen tools like this before, but EVRN feels like it's really geared for professional filmmakers. Like, it has the level of control and also the output fidelity that folks in our industry are looking for. Also, a shout out to Pinar, who I've known for a few years now. And you're right, Kubrick was one of the groundbreaking products back in 2023, 24. Like,
they were very early. Yeah, that was built off Stable
It was
Diffusion,
one of the first. And like at that time, you and I were just playing around with text to image, right? Like that in itself was so fun and so new. And they were already doing layer-based generation, so taking an image, separating it out into layers, and having parallax as the camera moves through those layers.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that...
And some very rough depth extrusion too.
That's right. Yeah, and it created a mesh from a depth map, which was mind blowing at the time, like 2 years ago. It's like, what do you mean you can just generate mesh from an image? I think Pinar and Kubrick is maybe one of the main reasons why I have a career in AI today, because I started looking at AI a couple years ago, and it took me some time to pivot and go in that direction. But that was like one of the main things, along with, Stable Diffusion and Sora, that really changed my mind on this entire thing and sort of led me to believe that this was going to be the future.
And yeah, speaking of meshes, so the interesting thing about this, because like we see this, and so my initial thought was like, okay, we know, like, is it just a nice orchestration system to take segments of images and do image to 3D, and then is it just basically world labs in the background for the 3D environment? And so they said right now, like, it is a Gaussian splat environment, but in like 2 months or so, it will be a full 3D mesh environment. So that's also interesting, that the environment you get as well would be a full 3D mesh environment that you could also then bring into Blender and Unreal and have more control.
Yeah,
over
I was just
what you do
thinking,
with
like, why would you need one over the other? Obviously, Gaussian splats are going to be lighter, and AI models can generate those pretty quickly. The reason you would need meshes is so when you want to attach shaders to them, you want to have high level of control over the lighting and reflections and all that stuff. You definitely need the mesh and not the Gaussian splat. But in the meantime, I think if you just use a Gaussian splat representative of your object, and then it is really about directing the camera. If you can lay cinematography on top of that digital world, then you would have achieved something that's quite easy, intuitive for you, but that's difficult to do on a plain Jane video generation model.
Yeah, I mean, for what you're doing with this, like you're not, everything you're doing in this is not going to be a final output. You're just looking to have like a really nice, high fidelity reference video that you then feed to CDance or whatever. Reference or a video to video model you want. So yeah, it's not that big a deal if you can't fully relight or get it to where you want, but having that option in the future, you know, and especially if you did have a daytime scene and you're like, well, no, we need it to be like very moody lit, and the AI output's not getting it the way we need to give it better inputs with the lighting changed.
What AI models are really good at, video models, is just taking image structure from the Gaussian splat and then generating highly photoreal stuff from that. And that's what 3D and traditional CG is not good at, right? Like to get high level of photorealism, you need to bring in a lighter, you know, a rendering optimization artist, shaders, and like all types of stuff, and then have them go at it to make this thing look amazing.
The other thing was, they explained it a little bit. I'm trying to fully understand, but it like there's a kind of a back end agent working as well that is analyzing the scene using vision models to look at the scene and kind of create a knowledge database about the scene, so that when you give it the image and then you're also creating the environment of the areas outside the image that you can't see, it's generating stuff that logically would make sense for like what should be in the other areas of the room that you can't see. So it's also building this sort of knowledge layer underneath the hood of what is in the scene and in the project that informs the generations, like when you start making the 3D scenes around it. So that's this extra interesting layer that helps build out something that is consistent, because if you've messed around just with World Labs and just given it a couple images, it's like maybe whatever was in the field of view, the image is good, but then as you like pan around your world, it's like complete, not random.
It's a Hollywood set.
It just doesn't make any.
Don't turn the camera that way.
It doesn't make any logical sense. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's very cool. I think they're officially launching a beta in a month or so. This was a very cool tool and definitely adds that layer that we've talked about of controllability. Okay, other cool tool. This was at the satellite event that we talked about that Kino and a bunch of other companies were hosting. Ramiro gave a breakdown of what ComfyCode is that he's been building. It's very cool. It's very interesting. I'm excited to try it. He hasn't launched it yet. I think it's going to be this week. First off, he gave us a shout out. Thanks, Ramiro. But yeah, I basically took our image to 3D Codex test that we did last week, and of the Culver Theater, and then improved the Blender reference image we made into something that looked photorealistic, back to photorealism. His tool that he built, it's sort of a stack of tools, but he basically built this nice user interface where, going back to the core idea of the more inputs you give the AI models, the better you get the outputs. So he's built this tool for a couple of pipelines, but it has a bunch of knobs and controls. You can adjust your color temp, you can adjust like all the settings you would traditionally be accustomed to working in Unreal or just with a camera, all of your lens settings, metadata, everything like that. And then it turns it into a very long, detailed JSON prompt.
Oh, wow.
And so in his experiments, he found like if he was doing video to video, but he would get, one result. But if he was doing video plus a super detailed JSON list of prompts of all of the metadata into the model, the outputs would be way more on point, way more directed, way more on target of like what he was trying to get.
That's very smart. Shout out, Ramiro. Yeah.
It's very smart.
Man,
Yeah.
it's too bad I missed that event. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was super cool. And I'm still, I'll have to confirm with him. It still wasn't 100% clear if it's also able to pull, because a lot of this was tied into the SMPTE 2110 metadata. It wasn't 100% clear if it's able to also pull the metadata from the camera and use that as an input. That wasn't clear, so I'll have to clarify that with Miro.
Sure. Yeah, I'm curious to know what the SMPTE 2110 part actually is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like the output it's making mimics 2110, or if it's also able to pull data.
It'd be interesting if that is a way for him to tile the image into a higher resolution version of it, so you can throw it up on LED walls. Like, let's say, one output is 2K, the other one's 2K, and then you add a bunch of them up and you get to 8K. I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yeah, so that's the gist. I know he also built a bunch of tools, some to fix some of the shutter rate issues with AI outputs. One tool kind of focused on video to video, another tool focused on creating panoramic images. I'm very excited to test this out and see what he built. So it should be out this week. But this was very cool and a very interesting insight of just the metadata that he was spitting out and feeding into the prompts was just like super detailed.
Yeah, it's interesting that he has like a front end professional tool with all the controls that we are accustomed to, just to generate a really crazy JSON prompt to then feed that into a video generation model to get the exact thing that you're trying to get in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't take a picture of the output of the prompt, but yeah, it was just a long prompt. And I was thinking because we were going back, we had that debate of if JSON prompting was useful, and I felt like might have died down, but he found a very, I think, practical way to use it. And also, you're not like a human is not writing out the JSON.
Yeah, I think
structure.
for day to day, like if you're hand typing anything, don't even worry about JSON. But if a vibe coded app is dynamically generating the prompt, absolutely need JSON, right? Like it's going to be millions of characters and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was super cool. Really interesting. I'm excited to see when that comes out. Oh, right. There was also a really good VS panel, kind of it was future forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Paul Debevic, legend. So I caught a little bit of it Monday morning. I walked into it a little bit late, but it felt. I was expecting Paul to just kind of go through the latest eyeline research paper, which I think we're going to cover soon. But it wasn't that. It was more of like a very interesting take on the history of VFX, homage to VFX, if you will, and where we're going to go into the future with AI. So, yeah, I thought it was presented well.
The perpetual pipeline, 50 years of symbiosis in computer graphics. And it was interesting talking about where is AI going to fit into the pipeline, and then still the issues of it's good at solving some problems, but you still have to have that base knowledge to know when the advice is wrong or when it's missing stuff. Because I forgot there's some examples that someone gave of asking it to solve some lighting issues in Unreal or Maya, and the advice it was giving was just completely incorrect. Still having that base level of knowledge where it's like you can speed up your process, you can speed up reviewing papers, you can speed up brainstorming, but you still need to know if it's accurate or if it's right, and can get you to that point.
Yeah, the most confusing thing about AI in general is it just doesn't say I don't know. Right? It'll just keep computing and giving you the wrong answer, and then just so confidently say this is it. Here you go.
Yeah, you have to double check. But also, I found it's good if you ask it to check its work, because then it'll sometimes find things, especially with the newer stuff like Fable and Opus 5 just came out. I don't know if you saw that, but now there's an Open 5.
Oh yeah. I've been messing with Opus 5.
Yeah, that talk was good. What else do we got? Oh, right, we had the NVIDIA. They had that cool party on Sunday at DataLab, this new event space down in downtown LA.
Yeah, I got to see you in person. That was nice, even though we live in the same city. So DataLand is this new venue, supposedly just opened last month, and it is a really interesting take on what a visual and oral experience could be,
and
AI driven, data driven.
Because you wore these
as
smell
well.
necklaces that would get triggered and emit smells based on the digital environments that you were looking at?
Yeah, so you walk in and it's very unassuming, right? Like you're just looking at LED walls and stuff, and like somebody like you and me, we've looked at plenty of LED walls. And then you walk in, you got to put on this wrist fitness tracker thing, this olfactory neck thing, and then off you go into different rooms with different experiences and media, and the media is dynamically generated based on your data. The whole thing is just really unique and very new as a concept.
Yeah, it was one of those kind of like immersive LED experiences, but the projections were cool, the art was great, and yeah, like you said, it's tracking you, it's kind of making it personalized. Yeah,
Rafiq Anadol's art is in there. He's that famous AI artist. His work is at a lot of places. And then the closest comparison I can make to DATALAND is if any of you have ever been to Team Labs in Tokyo. So Team Labs is along the lines of like turning giant LED cubes and volumes into really entertaining experiences. And also Luminarium. You mentioned Luminarium.
Like we did also have a joke that this is basically collecting all our data to like clone us somewhere in the background.
They're not only collecting your data, but they're charging you money to collect your own data.
What else? Recap. Oh yeah, Sunday I went to Open Source Day, which we talked about last week. That was a great event and really interesting, and just kind of cool to see different projects using various open source tools from the Academy Software Foundation. There were some projects that I didn't even know about. So they have like different tiers of like some open source standards are considered, I forgot the terminology, but like established. Some are still in the assessment phase, even though they're kind of widely established, like ACES. Color is still technically in this like middle assessment stage.
Still being worked on. Yeah.
And then there's the like, I forgot what they call it, like sandbox or just experimental phase, where it's just very new projects that are still getting worked on, and seeing if there's more use for them. And there are a couple interesting ones that I want to try out later, which was like some was a dailies review tool. Another one was, I don't think it was fully for like provenance tracking for AI. I think it was more around VFX, but it seemed like it could be adapted for kind of this AI work future of like a standard that can kind of
like governance of AI
and kind of
systems.
Just track the data. And that was definitely a theme that came up a lot throughout the conference. Was I feel like we don't talk as much about the legal concerns.
We don't talk, but that is a big concern for studios. Is like, how do I monitor everybody using the models? What are they prompting for? Where are the like IP blockers and things like that? Some safety controls, and when are they being invoked? So like just having a bird's eye view of what the AI system is actually doing across like hundreds or thousands of people using it at the same time. They're interested in that because, it can be used wrongly.
Yeah, that, and I think it's still, everything's still getting sorted, or there is no clarity yet on like what is okay and not okay, with usage. Yeah. And so I think a lot of it's just save everything possible so that if you do need to prove stuff for now, later you have the paper trail, like you can track like, in this video shot, like what was every single input, and then for those images, what was every single input into that. Very important to track that. If it will come into play, and if that'll be like the standard going forward, if it'll be needed, if like more focus will be on the outputs rather than the inputs, that might play out differently in a few years. But for now, everyone is just like, if they're using it, everything's got to be tracked and logged.
Yeah, for professional use, I mean, when you're going to make a movie and that movie's going to go out to distribution, you're going to have to show a receipt for every shot and every origin, right, of everything that's in the movie, in the final pixel. It's pretty easy to do that with computer graphics. We have assets, right, literally like FBX files, USD files, Premiere projects or whatnot. But it's difficult with AI because everything is either an image or video. And if the metadata doesn't have enough stuff in it, then it's kind of a mystery as to where it came from.
Yeah, and you need to know. What else we got? Oh yeah, Beeble also gave a presentation. That was a packed room, and that's Huang.
That's Huang, right?
That is Huang
from Beeble. Dude, big fan of Huang.
And they gave a couple demos of some projects that I hadn't seen. One was sort of this Korean production, and they're basically kind of shooting this film like in their office with like office-y backgrounds, like not even clean plate backgrounds, and.
Yeah,
and the video looked great. On a
You're right.
small
Right.
projector frame. But like the stuff that they're doing looked great. Another project. Actually, this was an interesting, something that I think ties into what we were talking about with Codex last week. They did a 3D scan. I think it might have been with Polycam. They did a 3D scan of like a historic space, and and then when they turned it into a mesh, but the mesh was like super blobby and messy from the scan, because it was like, I'm gonna guess it was probably like an iPhone scan. It wasn't the best quality. And then they either used Codex or Claude and just said clean up the mesh, and then it just cleaned it up. And I was like, oh, that is a great use of this, of like if you have an existing scan and you just want to clean it up. So that was a good tip.
That's so interesting. I mean, your Codex Blender thing still blows my mind even now, 2 weeks later. But also, how does Codex know to clean up meshes? That's such a human-driven task. That's crazy.
Does this look good? No? Okay, keep fixing it. I don't know.
Right, like who's supervising that, right? I'm a fan of SwitchX. I told you a couple of weeks ago that I was testing it around. Finally, I got around to getting a Beeble subscription and testing it out. The driving plate stuff, oh my God, it's so good. And that's me coming from the LED volume driving plate world, where I've seen car processes unfold in front of my eyes, looking at it on the onset monitor and things like that, and thinking, wow, this is the future. Like the LED wall is putting all those reflections down on the windshield and everything that's so realistic. How can you replicate this with anything else? And here we are just a year or two later. SwitchX is definitely, challenging everything that I just told you.
Yeah, and the thing with the one limit with SwitchX was like you're kind of getting these 8-bit 1080 kind of web output. So that was like a limit.
Right.
They teased or talked about SwitchX 2.0, which I got up on the screen right now. And so this is coming soon-ish, and this is, a step in the progressive direction where, like, what if you could just do all of the effects and your output is SwitchX? And it's at a high enough quality that you can still work with in a professional pipeline. So the next version is 4K outputs, 10-bit, and then some improved quality and stuff. And so that's definitely, obviously in the right direction to, if this could just handle the entire, or give you an output that can fit back into the professional pipeline.
Yeah, everybody knows what the gap is. It's like no matter how good of a AI video to video task you do, end of the day, it just can't go back out into a professional pipeline just because, as you said, it's web quality video. I know Topaz is working on some kind of, I'm going to say, up dynamic ranging, if you will. Probably. It's good to know Beeble's working on it, as I'm sure Magnifique or all the upscalers out there.
The Beeble has a separate HDR model that I've heard people really like as well. It's like Switch HDR, I think it's called. Yeah,
it's not enough to take the 8-bit dynamic range and then just stretch it to 10-bit, because that's incorrect. And a lot of upscalers now will do that. You actually have to go into the scene with the VLM and detect the light sources. For example, if it's the sun, it's not going to be just multiplied by 2 or multiplied by 4. It's going to be like 1,000 times brighter than like a light bulb. And so to have that accurate dynamic range, I think that's the hard part that a VLM has to solve it for every frame, and then reinterpret it as the light source disappears and another light source appears into the video. Like it's a very complex task, and I'll be really curious to see what Beeble comes up with.
Maybe we should maybe in the future when we could do a HDR off, because the Switch HDR exists, and I've heard it's good because it gives you slider controls over the highlights and how much you want to increase stuff. Yeah, we could try that. Between that and Topaz and LTX has an HDR up-res as well. There's a couple out there we could do a bake-off.
Yeah, just a real quick side note. On the camera side of things, you and I are big camera nerds. Like the Sony FX5 just came out, which is like this $5,000 Venice, basically. It's insane. The thing has something called dual gain triple ISO.
Okay, ISO.
What it means, I think, so it has three different native ISO settings. Yeah, and the dual gain is, I think it reads the sensor twice every frame or something. Like supposedly Arri Alexa does that. So on one pass, it'll read the stuff that's really bright, and on the second pass, it'll read the stuff that's really low.
Exposure in real time, sort of.
On a frame by frame basis. Isn't that insane?
That's wild.
On a $5,000 camera. So Sony claims that it has 16 plus stops of dynamic range. I mean, I just say that because like AI video generations are at best maybe 10 stops of dynamic range, something like that, right? Like there is so much catching up to do. Where the camera technology is today, what we're accustomed to with dynamic range capture, and where AI video is today with what it can, produce.
Yeah. Speaking of Sony, the other thing Sony had at their booth, I didn't take any photos because they had a lot of no photo signs, so I honored that. But they had a HDR prototype monitor on display that would blind you.
It's like 1,000 nits or something.
No, it was 10,000. It was 10,000 nits.
I think that's an IMAX projector. If I'm
it was basically it was their tiles shrunk down into a monitor format.
Right.
But like,
yeah, you do need that. You do need that for as you go up from 10-bit to 12-bit. Like your dynamic range expands. You're getting closer and closer to reality, what our eyes are accustomed to, and we're accustomed to daylight. Like daylight is really bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember Conrad was like, "Go check this out," and then I was standing in front of it, and then it's like a driving, Gran Turismo demo, I think, and it was like, go. Then the sun comes out, and I was just like.
Were you wearing your Ray-Ban glasses?
I was not then, but they had sunglasses on the table, chained to the table so you don't steal them. But they had sunglasses you could borrow to watch it.
You walked out with a tan. You're like, oh, yeah. I guess went to the
It's like the scene from Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So that's coming.
I'm glad it's coming. Yeah, like I was saying, like the camera, the display world is pushing ahead. They have never slowed down. The AI models need to really catch up on that sense, for sure.
Yeah, last cool thing, there was a good kind of 4D Gaussian splatting demo, and I know a lot of people are excited about that. So that was at the Dell booth, 4DV, which I think we might have talked about a while ago. I think they did that demo video of the guy sitting in the chair, and then you're able to like reposition the camera around him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they shot their rig. I mean, it depends what you're shooting, but it was like 20-ish cameras. But yeah, a lot of interest in 4D Gaussian splatting. And then, of course, back at the Kino event and stuff, there's a lot about the Kronos group, and they're trying to standardize, kind of create format standards for volumetric content. And then, there's also Skyrim, which was doing like volumetric capture with like a bunch of 8K cameras of sporting events and stuff. I know volumetric capture has kind of been like an attempt at a thing for a while, but I think between 4D Gaussian splatting as a format coming up, and then also just, even if you're not capturing it, to create some immersive viewing experience, because I'm like still, I don't know, like maybe for sporting events would work, but I feel like overall, like we tried that with headsets and it's kind of cumbersome. But I think being able to capture stuff in 4D and have this volumetric video that you can then use as like a base knowledge to send it to other pipelines and outputs. I think there's something there for future workflows.
The pipe dream was having the Cosm experience at home, right? Imagine if you had a sports broadcast where you can pick the perspective where you want to witness it at. So you can turn an NBA game into like a courtside experience on your TV at home. I
get the idea of that. I feel like that would work if there was still someone mixing the Cosm experience. Like Cosm works because you have these really cool immersive angles, but you still have someone.
Cosm works because it's Cosm. I mean, it's just a massive investment into
the venue and the camera angles and the stuff. But I'm saying, like, I feel like when you have to do work and you're like, I have to navigate my joystick and then I got to like kind of follow the ball around. Like, you need someone who is technical directing your immersive experience for you. I feel like when it's too much work, then it's not as fun, if that makes sense. But if you can volumetrically capture if you can volumetrically capture a basketball game, but then you can recreate those like dynamic COSM angles, and it's dynamically switching. Like if they're on like one end of the court, you know, you see it from here, and then if they're on the other end, you see it from here.
Like when someone's about to go up for someone's going up for a dunk, the camera switches to
I don't have to like take my joystick
and then switches back.
I don't have to take my joystick and then try to like navigate to get the good angle.
You're right.
You know, like someone else is doing that for me, or someone else is using this volumetric data to create that COSM experience for me as a viewer. I think that would work. That would be a sweet spot.
I think if you had one human camera operator, sort of just like on a video mixer, you know, just press buttons, and then your broadcast would essentially follow those button presses, camera angles that switch. That could work. I mean, other than like an AI agent, but then how would you train that agent, and how, you know, that goes into a whole different thing.
I'm sure you could, man. Like that seems like out of all this stuff, that seems the easiest to like follow the action.
Follow the action, sure. Yeah. But it's a real time task, is what I'm saying. Highly real time, you know, like it has to be within
like something
milliseconds.
that would be able to
and that's
switch.
why broadcast. You know, you have these giant video matrices where you know somebody's actively switching the camera with physical buttons, because that stuff has to be done in milliseconds. Yeah,
Ross, Grass Valley,
all that. Yeah.
Black Magic. Yeah, it's fun. That stuff's crazy.
That's a world.
Formula One switching. They got like hundreds of cameras.
Exactly.
That stuff blows my mind.
Exactly.
That they're able to cut. You know how hard it is to cut the action, and so like it logically makes sense to you, but all this stuff is happening split second.
Yeah,
it's crazy stuff. Technical directors like crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think an AI agent will be that sophisticated. Like, even the best of us can't even do it. Somebody needs years of training and experience to be able to switch cameras that well.
Clip that, add it to the archive, come back to this.
No.
We'll come back to this when we're at NAB, and it's like, this is Ross is introducing your AI
switching.
director.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because I'm still hung up on the fact that Codex can clean up noisy meshes. Like, that was an art.
Can build a 3D environment for
right. It's crazy. So yeah, maybe I will eat my own words very soon.
Yeah, we'll have to make a clip archive. Come back to this. Okay, I think that's it for SIGGRAPH-ish.
All right, real quick. Neill Blomkamp movie. Have you seen it?
I saw that it popped up. I did not actually watch the thing.
I want to give a shout out to Matt Workman, because like I follow his podcast, and he had a really good episode. Like, he had all this information. I was like, Matt, where did you get this stuff? Like,
okay, what did he just have? So, well, I know Neill Blomkamp did an AI. Like, he's posted like an AI short film he did, and he's like, I like AI. It makes me. I can make things.
So the entire thing was made with Seedance 2, and I guess ByteDance had a big ceremony or event in Singapore where Neill Blomkamp came up on stage and just kind of announced the project or whatnot. So when you first start watching this movie, the first thing that went through my mind was like, is this real with like insert shots in AI? Because like that shot looks incredibly real. And then like the talking head stuff, and I know you do so many talking heads, right? As a documentary filmmaker, like that one, if you pause on that, like the lighting on him and his performance and everything, I was like, wait, so they shot talking head, they shot some B-roll, and then they probably cut it in with like AI action sequences, because those would be the VFX shots. No, dude, the entire thing was synthetic, and I couldn't believe it.
But didn't he use performance capture?
Right. So
like, did he film actors?
I didn't know how many. Like, I didn't know if this guy was real or not. So I watched it to the end. The credits actually have, I don't know, something like 20 people on. So like there was quite a few actors that were captured.
Maybe we should also like have given some context. Neill Blomkamp, who did District 9 and
Chappie, District 9, the
District
movie
9.
with Matt Damon, one of my faves.
District 9?
No. Matt Damon was.
He wasn't. He was in the other one.
Yeah, the one where he has like a cyborg attachment behind him. Gosh, I'm blanking on the name.
I know
it was like
the image of him that you're talking about. Yeah, so here it says featuring.
Yes, so I'm guessing these are the actors,
right? And it's like, well, did he do performance capture, or are these also just voice actors? I'm
just gonna guess here. I think the people here were scanned or photographed to create the digital AI version of, and then they definitely did the voice acting because the voice sounded really authentic to me. But I don't know if it was fully performance capture driven. Like, I don't think the body and the motion really came from them. Right.
Yeah, look this stuff.
I thought that was Werner Herzog, by the way.
Seedance is good because like it can take audio references and use that to drive. Also, who knows? Maybe I don't know if they talked about it. I mean, they probably would have hyped it if they was, but like maybe he was using Seedance 2.5.
Yeah, and the thing that is always a telltale sign of AI generated movies is like the cuts don't 100% line up. Like continuity is really difficult with shot to shot to shot. But here, as I was watching this, there was like that distraction went away. Just like a real movie, you don't have to worry about shot continuity unless they intentionally put it in there.
I think that also just comes down to like an actual filmmaker and editor and professional team knowing how to use this. Like that is more when I see some AI stuff and it's just like shot, cut, like shot dialogue, cut, shot dialogue, cut. And it's like, that's just lack of editing experience and style.
The other thing I always complain about the lens thing, right? Like how AI generations are just not quite. They're like there's an uncanny valley of optics, if you will, right?
Like it's just had a nice subtle like. Focus
it has, but like
the
that back wall is maybe a little too close, and this entire cabin can't be this tight. Like and then that roof probably can't be that low.
Off in this.
Yeah, so like spatial things, like my eye really picks up, but then some of the outdoor shots, like. When they're flying in the Apache and stuff, it looks so real. Like I couldn't believe
the motion jitter in this feels a little off.
Like here, as they're walking, the truck in the back should be a little bit more out of focus. I don't know, it depends on the lens, I guess. But yeah, it does give away a little bit. But overall, I thought this was one of the highest quality, if not the highest quality AI film that I've ever seen.
All right, I'll watch the whole thing. I haven't watched the full thing in its entirety yet. It's funny now we're nitpicking at like the height of the ceiling and the motion blur, but like if this came out like a year ago, everyone's brains would have melted.
Exactly. No,
I was like, it looks good, but the motion blur is still,
you're right.
Still a little bit
You're right.
off.
Yeah, let me recalibrate.
This is the worst it'll ever. This is the worst it'll ever be.
I think if this was a 90-minute film and it was in a movie theater, I would 100% pay a ticket and go watch it. I love Neill Blomkamp, so like for me, that's a no-brainer. And I couldn't tell if it was AI or not for the most part.
That's probably a better test if you just show this to someone, you're just like, hey, watch this, and you like to take out all the any AI mention and then see if they like notice something.
No, yeah, not just someone, but someone who's accustomed to his style of filmmaking, right? Like. That handheld stuff that he does, the talking head, that's all from like Chappie or District 9. Like that's his style.
Yeah, if you get somebody who's like, I like District 9, you're like, oh hey, the director that made a new short film, like go watch it. And then I think as soon as you preface anything that just says that AI was involved, then it just completely warps their viewing experience and assessment of it. I think Netflix has been doing the smart move of just putting the stuff out and then after the fact being like, I was using it by the way.
Yeah, by the way, 300 films, 300 movies.
And it's like you will never be able to pick identify what had what.
By the way, that name of the movie is Elysium. One of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
All right, real quick. Flux 3 is in the video world. So they released Flux 3 model. Flux has traditionally just been images, but now Flux 3 can also do video, and the demos I've seen look really good.
All right, let's look at some examples.
And now Flux is interesting because this is Black Forest Labs. They split off from Stable, right? Were the founders initially from Stability?
They didn't officially. Yeah, so they're in Germany. And not too far from London. So during the early days of Stability AI, like 1.0, when Imad was the CEO, some of the founders of Black Forest Labs worked there, and then they just spun off and did their own thing. I don't think it had anything to do with Imad or the leadership, but once you have AI research knowledge, I guess you can do what you want with it.
They're also doing some of the coolest stuff for being a relatively independent small AI lab. Like this.
Yeah, they're relatively small, relatively independent, but they punch way above their weight.
Yeah, this is not backed by a massive company, and the stuff they put out is really impressive.
Like Flux Dev and Flux Schnell is probably the number 2 and number 3 open source image model from the early days of all of this, right? You had SDXL, SD 1.5, Flux Dev, and Flux Schnell were the 4 image models that you can mess around in Comfy before all the other ones were available.
With the video model, up to 20-second duration, with audio, could do text to video, image to video, video to video, keyframe to video, which is nice, multilingual dialogue, and then a high style diversity, and strong typography.
Look, hey, they have some Omni and Seedance comparisons, of course, and Happy Horse, which we didn't cover on the pod, but it is one of the better video models.
You like Happy Horse? I think we mentioned it. That's Alibaba's video model.
Yes.
Have you been using it or experimenting with it?
Just to hear, just to see what it can do, but not regularly. Like I would probably use Google Omni more than anything else on this list. Yeah. Actually, no, I take that back. I use Runway as well. Yeah.
Okay, Runway. Omni I found was like very good at modification of video.
Yes. Most of my work, that I'm testing with is generally video to video rather than novel video generation.
Yeah.
So I would already have something. I just want to modify.
That you want to modify. Yeah, Omni's really good at that. I need to give. I heard good things about Luma Ray 3.2. I found Ray 3 was a little fuzzy, warpy, but I've heard some pretty good things about 3.2, so I got to give that another revisit.
Yeah. I also have to test out Luma Agent a little bit more. Yeah. I've heard good things about that as well.
Yeah. So another solid model. Gonna give this one a shot once it's out.
We'll give this one a shot. I say this every time as we see a new video model or an image model. Like the work begins years before, to figure out what the architecture is, get the data, label the data, put it through training. Put IP blockers, all that stuff. Like this stuff is really labor intensive to make a video model. By the time you complete it, you put it out on the market, then Seedance 2.5 drops. It's like, oh my God, like the timing couldn't be worse. So this is the unfortunate thing about AI work is you can never win. But if you have a good model and if you have the customer base that loves it, hopefully there is a business case for it.
Yeah. And I believe they are going to open the weights, so you can just run this locally. I think I saw that.
Okay, so there's going to be an open source model. Did you see Jensen tweeted that
his first
them fighting words? Yeah, it's like the world is a place for open models and closed models. He's like the world AI president.
Did you see who also got into the open source AI model debate and backed Jensen?
No.
What other company that you would 100%?
Denny's? Sells chips. Venn diagram.
Knows the importance of staying open. Well, isn't that also because wasn't part of NVIDIA's origin story? Didn't they? Doesn't he love Denny's?
Jensen loves Denny's? That sounds very Jensen. He's like an everyday man, dude. He's like the least non-billionaire billionaire. Like he's the most commoner billionaire. I say that I really like the guy. And that totally tracks.
Yeah, he's just focused on work and the mission.
He's just trying to make the best shit.
Yeah. All right. Good place to wrap it up on Denny's.
Yeah, hey, if you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, do us a favor, just hit the subscribe button. It won't hurt. It'll only take a second.
Thanks for watching. Links for everything we talked about at denoisepodcast.com. We'll catch you in the next episode.